So what we'll be doing now is working with the nose. What I'm just doing now is I'm kind of feeling the difference between left and right of tension inside the head. So the same thing again, the 3 steps, feeling layerly. So you can feel the different layers, the muscles from outside the head, the cranium, the tension between the bones, the junctures, and the tension inside the brain. There's the 3 main brains. There's the brain, and tension coming downwards from the jaws and from the visceral cranium and throat. The bone of the nose, it's quite a subtle. There's a juncture here, so in that juncture you want to work. Yes.
Just twist the camera down. No, just yeah. Push it down. Yeah, keep going. Okay. Yep, that's good.
Yep.
Yeah, better.
So that is, I put like 3 fingers, and then 1 finger on this side of the nose, the other 2 fingers there. And in this juncture we're going to work. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it down, the same as in level 1. And the way it's going to work inside, actually what it can do is it can go down. You can have a sensation of it coming apart like this, or coming together in this sense. So it will be doing this, or it will be doing this. So you'll see what it wants to do. So we have this part of the nose is quite a sensitive part, but you have this side of the bone, that's where actually the real bone begins. And this side, so you have a good grip on the nose. So we start feeling layerly. We go inside the tissue. We see where the tension is, what comes to our hands, what comes to our sensation in the fingers. While that is happening, it's always interesting how much is the person in question, your client, how much is he present? That meaning, how much of the sensation is it an objective sensation, like you touching an anatomical structure of the body? How much of it is an anatomical structure of that person, of that client? And how much do you feel you're touching the client? So I share it with the clients usually. I ask them these 3 questions. Am I touching a structure? Am I touching the structure of your body? Am I touching you? So that giving the client the possibility to choose between what matches the sensation he is having in the contact. And is it a physical sensation, or is it more an what I call an subjective sensation? Meaning there is a personal contact involved and a personal relation, personal sensation that is felt in the person itself, is affecting the client directly. Not only its body, but everything. So okay, I'm gonna wait. And I'm gonna see if there is a sensation of what actually we're working with living tissue. That means that living tissue will always pulsate. There'll be a pulsation, meaning there will be a contraction and an expansion. There'll be a contraction moment and an expansion moment. So once you allow that and you get the sense of it, you're actually involving the tissue and you're actually asking the tissue to relax, you're asking the tissue to relate to your touch. So I'm kind of waiting in a pause. This is a kind of a pause moment where I am not actually really doing much, I'm just sensing. So I give a certain pressure, I apply a certain pressure, and I wait. And so there is a sensation of very slow little movement inside the bones, and our sensation of going into the mattress, so a contraction sensation. And I have the feeling that this sensation is affecting her neck. I have a sensation of something happened in the neck as a consequence. Now it stops and it's actually wanting to go sideways, what we call side fluctuations. And I'm kind of not wanting it to do that. I'm waiting for it to go into an expansion movement, which means it will go upwards. So wait and wait and wait and wait and wait. Now it's coming. The frontal bone is getting into a small expansion. And now the nasal bone. I release the tension, release the pressure, so that the tissue can go as much as possible, can come into an expansion movement, expanding towards the space. So there is always this sensation of space, display between space and between pressure. Pressure, space and involvement. They're the three things that a live tissue will do. A live tissue wants to relate. A live tissue is always relating to whatever is happening around. That's one of my interests in connective tissue. So we wait again, we went to very little expansion movement and now into a very little contraction. and we're waiting. So there's definitely something with the neck that makes the movement of the nose being a small movement. How to kind of work with the neck for a while actually. So I'm going to do that. So just here by the mastoid process, and the sternocleidomastoid is just under the sternocleido. There is the two side processes of the atlas, the first vertebra. So it's quite a, and there's a jaw muscle and jaw joint. It's quite an interesting place to work and a place of holding tension for the neck. So I'll just give it a little push, and immediately what I'm feeling is tension on the forehead. So it does relate, in my sense, what I'm sensing, it does relate to the nose and the forehead. So I'm kind of applying a little pressure in the jaw and here below, under the mastoid. Applying pressure to each other and pulling it in my direction. It's funny, there's kind of this kind of rotative movement, very shortly, very small rotative movements. I can kind of relate to the knees, something that seems to be happening in the pelvis and the pelvic area and the knees. So, okay, let's go back to our little research place. The nose. Just have to get my camera in the right place. Right, Martin?
Yes.
Great. So again, 3 fingers on the frontal bone. Thumb on this side. 2 fingers there. So I can also put them all together. It's up to you. So again, there is another structure that is kind of bothering me. It's the phallic cerebri, this membrane between the 2 sides of the brain. It pushes pushes from the back of the head onto the frontal bone, and the inside it pushes on this direction towards the back of the head. And I think there's some tension there. So what I'm going to do is I'll just hold the head on the back of the head, get a good support for the occiput.
Your camera's too low. Just lift the
Too high?
yeah, but you go down.
Like this?
Okay,
Sorry.
It'll be easier to move now.
Yeah? Oh, great.
Come down to, yeah, that way.
This Kan je het een beetje volgen? Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So what I do actually is, would be nice to show. Is it being on? Is it being on the? On, can they see this?
It needs to go a little bit higher with the camera. Push it up a bit.
This
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is like I'll have this finger on this side of the occiput. There's a little tuberosity, a little like something sticking out of the bone. A piece of the bone is coming outwards. It's called a tuberosity. So this finger will be there, and again this finger will be like here, and the middle finger will be just touching this little. It's a little piece that goes inside. So giving a good support for the occiput. And again we have these 3 fingers. So going good.
Mm-hmm.
So what I do now is I sense inside, so I do the 3 steps, meaning getting a sensation, getting an anatomical image of what's going on inside. Where is the pressure going into? So and then seeing if I can get a sensation of the location of the place where I'm working into, or that I'm working with. So okay. That gives me a good grip and a good sensation that somewhere, something inside, I can feel a relation with the tissue, with what's happening inside the tissue. So now you also could go like working on the side. Let's see if you can get some more movement now, if these 2 junctions are a bit more loose. Yeah, that's more movement. Much more movement actually. So nose plate going down and frontal bone going up. Nose plate coming up. So they all go into an expansion movement. Again, the neck, there is a little still, so there's still a little restriction in the neck, so it doesn't go very much, but it's okay. Nose plate going down again. Waiting. Waiting. And I'm really relating to the tissue, really trying to get a real good pulse in there. In the pulse, that's where you engage the places that are of holding. In the pulse, it's when the engagement of the immobility in the tissue starts to happen. Whenever there is immobility, that means that inside the immobility there is the potential to mobility. So always you're engaging that potential. You're asking the tissue. you want to go, you want to come. So then I see there's this strong sensation of relaxation in the back of the head, which has to do with the atlas, and in the neck. At the same time that the nose bone is reacting, is relating to the left side, is kind of rotating, now coming backwards. I'm kind of helping it to release. So there's a certain amount of pressure that I apply on the right hand, my right hand, especially with the on the left side. So there's a little rotation in relation to the now much more broader, much more broad, much bigger sensation of widening from the two bones. So an expansion movement. In the expansion, on top of the expansion, a little rotation to the left, to the right, I'm sorry. Rotation, 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 which is the place where it wasn't being free. Okay.